Hi folks, back again, here to do a custom pendant. The screen looks a little different for some reason, but maybe that's just me. So, hope this is working. This is a custom pendant for Gretchen. It's a particular symbol, kind of a combination of the male and female symbols, if you will. So, she wanted this in purple. So we're gonna do a really nice, pretty purple color. It's actually called Purple Lollipop. It's one of the prettiest transparent purples available. So that's gonna look really sharp. Yeah, first thing I gotta do is start by pulling down some of this rod. It's a little thick for this particular design we're doing. So I'm gonna pull a very thick stringer. I wouldn't really call it a stringer. I just need to, this is almost 8 millimeter in diameter. I want to pull it down to about 6. There we go. Get that a little bit darker so you guys can see more. I feel like the comments aren't going to show up if they it's tomato ones. Maybe not. Well, I hope you're watching, Gretchen. I'm not seeing the little pop-ups at the bottom of my screen that I usually do, so I don't know what the deal is, but this is your pendant. Alright, that's a little better thickness. First thing I'm going to start by doing is essentially just making a loop or a donut. Thin circles like this in flameworking are a bit of a challenge to get to turn out really clean. There's a number of ways you can do them to help with that. The easiest being if you know you're going to be making a bunch of something that has them, or you need several of them made that are all the same, is to actually take a piece of tubing that's the same diameter that you want, and then just cut cross sections of it and use that. Since this is a one-off, I'm not doing it that way, but that is a really great method to achieve the same size and thickness loop over and over again. So a lot of the round tools they use for shaping are called reamers. It's a piece of graphite that's tapered and it's octagonal. There's 8 sides to it. And so that kind of helps move and pull glass around as I spin it inside of there. So I've got a pretty good arc to the top. Pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to stick a punty there. And I'll work on evening the bottom part out where it connects. That's always the hardest part of any circle that you're trying to sculpt, is getting that connection to look good. Yeah, again, I apologize, you guys, if anyone's commenting or asking questions. They're not showing up on my screen. I might be able to try pulling them up on my phone here. Let's see. Oh, funny, now I cut out my music. Well, maybe I won't watch that then. No, won't even let me go to the comments. So I'll try to look at the comments afterwards and answer anything that I can at that point. Hardest part about making a ring like this is getting even thickness all the way around. It's not as hard to get the ring shape, but to get it to be evenly thick on all sides is pretty challenging, but this one's gone pretty well. I think that's about, well, let's try one more time. I might be breaking my 80% rule here, but I want to try to get the bottom looking a little bit nicer. kind of heating up small areas and trying to use gravity and then this reamer to even things out just a little bit. Maybe you heard me talk in other videos about I really enjoy looking for clean lines in pieces of glass, and so that's kind of what I'm striving to achieve here. Is this circle is just not quite as perfect as I'd like it to be, so I'm playing around with it a little bit, gambling on the chance that I might be able to make it better. There's just one side that's a little thicker than the other, and it's really bothering me. Super, super minute. It just makes it look not quite perfectly round. So that's my goal right now, is just trying to make that better. I don't know if I'm quite going to get it where I want it. It's still really good, and at a certain point I just got to know that if I keep messing with it, I'm going to make it worse. And at a certain point you just got to call it. So I think we're going to call that good. Now, got the centerpiece kind of ready to go here. Really making sure those connection points are super flowed in together. Oh, Gretchen, I was gonna tell you, if you're watching, I chose just to go with the transparent purple and not the black swirls. I really think that this way is gonna look a lot nicer and cleaner. And the other thing is, by adding the black in there, it's a much stiffer color than this transparent purple. And if I swirled that in there, the chances of all these pieces of glass being really even thickness all the way around would definitely suffer from that. They'd probably be a lot wavier and bumpier and just not as clean lines, and I think that's really important for this symbol. And the black is just going to detract from the purple as well. So I kind of made the executive decision to just go with the purple because I think the end result is going to be a lot better. Just kind of warming it up here, making sure nothing's too cold. Let's see. What do I want to use for the layer? All right, I'm going to add some cross pieces here. Oh, okay, I guess I am getting some comments. I see my aunt is watching. Hi, Auntie Dante. When I was learning to rhyme when I was like 2 or 3, that's what I started calling her, and that has been her name ever since. Do I have my sculpting knife? There it is. Sun's coming out there a little bit here in Duluth. It's nice to see. It was pretty gloomy this morning. I noticed too, since my last demo this morning, ton of new orders on the website. So thank you guys so much for those. Really, really honored to see the outpouring of support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This week we did all our shipping in one day, and with all the orders we got between last night and so far this morning, we might need to go up to 2 days a week. So I'm sitting down for this one. Most of my demos I've been standing, but when I'm doing finer, more detailed work like this, it's really nice to sit and be really stable and condensed. Especially working on a small scale like this, I need to really be pretty close to what I'm working on so I can see those details. One of my favorite things about doing custom orders is that it really lets me try to put, maybe not all, but a lot of my skills to the test. You know, a lot of times when I'm doing custom, you know, figurative pieces like this, I'm applying a lot of skills that I've learned over the years from other artists and classes that I've taken, or just things that I've learned on my own through experimentation. But it's really fun bringing them together and trying to implement them all in one piece. Well, I finished Tiger King this morning. Can't say I was really too surprised how it ended. Ended kind of about as I imagined it would. All about having the right tool for the job, no matter what trade you're working in. There's always going to be that one tool. It's just perfect for the application you need. No spoilers, no spoilers, Jody. This is just my interpretation of custom requests. I need to add just a little bit of glass to the end of that. Not quite as symmetric as what I'm looking for. Super close, but not close enough for me. I'm just gonna remove a tiny bit. I think that's about my 80% row. I'm going to do one more thing. No, I'm going to leave it. All right. For this pendant. Hey Gretchen, glad you're watching. It is so far. Yeah, I'm gonna add the kind of the chevrons at the bottom now. And I think Gretchen, for this pendant, we're gonna use the big donut on the top here as the loop, and we'll do kind of a grip hitch through there for the cord. I think that'll look better than actually adding a real loop on top of it. Again, I just think aesthetically, if we can use part of the sculpture as the loop, all the better versus adding another part that isn't part of that shape or that profile we're going for. So, unless you have an objection to that, I think it would be better this way. Even if you wanted to put it on a chain, we can always put like a jump ring on the top of the donut, and then you can put a chain through that jump ring. So, I think it would just look a little classier that way. Sweet. Glad to hear it, Gretchen. So when you're working on a thin sculpture like this, you got to flow all sides of each connection in. But if you get your core piece that runs through the center too hot, you start to lose your shape. So that's why I kind of do it intermittently like this. I'll melt in one seam and then kind of let that cool down and then keep the whole piece warm. And then flip to another side and work on that for a little while. Let that area cool down. Now I could bridge all of these points together to give me a little more stability, but for a piece this small and tiny, I don't know that it's really worth it. I just have to go a little slower at each connection. I think for these inner ones I'm going to use my hand torch. So you guys may have seen this the other day. It's just a jeweler's torch with a longer neck on it. your hands further away from the heat when you're working on bigger pieces. This lets me like really get in those little seams and keep things, you know, gravity working to my advantage here. Again, this flame is an annealing flame. It's definitely hotter than the kiln. The kiln's about a little over 1,000 degrees. This is probably more like 1,700 degrees, or maybe 16, but it just helps keep the glass at kind of a warm, stable temperature. Very similar to if we were in the furnace or in the hot shop, we would go into the glory hole to kind of reheat the piece and maintain some heat in the whole piece. Such a pretty color, Gretchen. It's definitely one of my favorites. And it's definitely more purple than what it looks in the video. Beautiful transparent purple glass. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that seam. I'm going to touch up the tip of that chevron and just clean that up a little bit. We get a little bit more of a taper to it. There we go. All right, do the one on the other side now. That's the awesome thing about these torches, is that it's this massive torch that I can make a 6-inch marble with, and I can also dial it down to just these little pinpoint flames that I can sculpt with and do really fine detail. I had to cut in the little V here, and just to try to make it a little bit more symmetrical, and now I'm going to let it kind of fill back in just a little bit more organically. Good, I'm glad you're liking it, Gretchen. It's coming together pretty nice. All right, now that I kind of got the connection point moved around to where I want it, now I'm going to work on just doing a little bit of a stretch on this chevron to make it a little straighter. Needed to pull it out just a little bit to try to get it to hopefully fall back to where I want it. I'm just trying to look at it and decide where the asymmetry is that might need any adjusting. Yeah, I'm just looking at really fine details in the profile of this piece. I think it'll really come together when I stretch the tip off here and really kind of bring it together. It's looking pretty dang close. Yeah, once I stretch it off this handle, I won't be able to push things around quite as well if I need to make adjustments, because it'll be on a really delicate punty. And so I'm trying to get these chevrons as close to perfect on the upper 2/3 as possible, so that when I go to disconnect and pull it to a nice point, things are looking really clean. Yeah, I think that's about it. The upper parts are looking good. The lower part, any uniformity that I've seen is going to be down at the bottom here, which I'm going to take away when I pull it off. So I think I'm going to do that step next. Hey Janelle, tell the girls hi. Glad they enjoyed their custom pendants. Sure you're finding creative things for them to do, even though you can't go to meetings. Alright, so we're going to put a punty on the top of the ring and then disconnect right below the chevrons there. I might even gather up some glass at the tip of the chevrons to give me a little more volume to work with. Trying to create nice tapers in glass. You always want to have more glass than you need so you can keep pulling it away to achieve the exact taper you're looking for. I have to gather up a little bit more. That was almost it, but not quite. Really looking for one straight line from each of the chevrons as they come down to a nice straight point. That's how delicately that was attached. I just pulled a little too hard and came right off. Designed a website for virtual badges. That's awesome. Nice, you guys. The face shield is to just shield my face from all the radiant heat. So this little piece isn't very hot on my face at all, but when I start making, bigger pieces like the marbles and anything that has a bigger surface area, there's a lot of radiant heat. And that's pretty hard on your skin and just hard to be around and work around. So yeah, this face shield protects me from that. So as I kind of expected, as I really started pulling to create that taper, my two chevrons kind of moved. And I was ready for that. I kind of knew that was going to most likely happen. I could have bridged them and, probably prevented that, and maybe I still will, depending on if I can get the shape I want or not. So yeah, when you're working with glass that's this thin, it can be really, really challenging to keep the heat where you want it. Or rather, keeping it off the areas you don't want it. That's getting pretty close. I remember I took a class maybe about 5 years ago from a world-renowned flame worker, and I asked him, I said, you know, how do you know when you need to flame anneal something? When do you decide when to do that in your process? And he's like, you really can't put it into words. It's more of a sixth sense, and it's all relative to the piece you're working on. So it's kind of this internal clock you develop, though, when you know you've worked on a piece long enough outside of the heat that all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I got to get that thing warm again, or I'm going to start hearing a little tink, a little crack. And that is your least favorite sound to hear is a glass blower. Tink. All right, we're going to stick this puntee back on. I'm going to make one more attempt to get the point at the bottom a little straighter. I just got to wait a little longer this next time. I've gotten a little too antsy and probably pulled a little too soon. An even narrower flame, just to try to get the glass hot where I want it and nowhere else. That's looking better. There we go. Now I'm starting to see some of the evenness that I've been looking for. When I hold it up here, I'm not trying to get it off the camera. I'm trying to look at it against a white backdrop against the wall here so I can really see that profile a little better. Sometimes I even make my eyes not focus on it. I'll make them blurry, like look at something beyond it and use my peripherals. It kind of helps me focus on the outline and not to dwell on little details. That's another trick that I have for watching or looking at the profile of a piece. the only time that you really, as a glassblower, get to feel maybe like a painter, where you can sit and look at something. Is you got it safely in the heat, and you know it's not going to crack while you're doing this, keeping the whole thing warm. And I can just kind of sit here and say, all right, what else do I want to change about that piece? I might just need to take a little bit more off the tip. Or mess with my chevrons a little bit more. That's the other option. I honestly think that might be the better one. So let's go for it. Let's mess with the chevrons a little bit. See if I can straighten out. Just trying to get the, where's a good spot to see it? That to be less of an angle and more to be one straight line there. I think with glass it's going to be pretty hard to achieve it perfectly, but I think the next step is just to pull a little more glass away from the chevron in hopes that I can kind of straighten out that line. That's a little better. Try doing the same thing on the other side. Well, I appreciate your understanding, Gretchen. It's just the perfectionist in me. I have a hard time settling for anything less. But glass is a good medium to encourage you to do that, because at a certain point, you're gambling on the success of the whole piece if you start pushing your luck, trying to get every little detail perfect. Yeah, I would agree, Gretchen. Most are. You either definitely are or you definitely aren't. I don't think there's too much middle ground. Some artists will just go with the flow and be totally fine with that, or you're a perfectionist and aren't satisfied until every detail is perfect. Took a little too much off on that one. Is there a limit to how many times you can reheat? Yes and no. It really depends on the piece. You know, for the intent of working with a piece of glass and sculpting it and, you know, trying to change things in a piece like this, in theory it is kind of indefinite. However, above certain temperatures, the glass does start to break down and lose some of its chemical elements, and you can run into issues that way where you know, the glass loses its flux essentially, and it won't behave the way it typically would when it's brand new. So it does kind of wear out. That doesn't mean you still can't keep reheating it, but it's not going to continue to work the same way forever. Now, I'm not getting this glass molten too often at this point. I'm just kind of getting it warm, and so that buys me a little bit more forgiveness, I guess, as far as that goes. That's what's going on. I was wondering why my flame seemed so weird. I had my outer oxygen on. I couldn't quite get the flame characteristics I was trying to get. Funny too, when I hold it upside down and right side up, I'll see different things. I'm always trying to change my perspective on it, because if you look at it all from the same point of view the whole time, you're gonna miss different key elements. Alright, I think I'm getting pretty close to calling it. I've messed around with the chevrons at the bottom for quite a while now, and getting to that point where I think they're about as good as they're gonna get. Pretty sure that's it this time. To do one little modification there. Now I'm just trying to check it, make sure that there's no stress left in the glass from me kind of pulling on stuff. Just to be safe, I'm going to hit it with the hand torch right where those chevrons connect. Just make sure that they're nice and stress-free and flow together. Alright, Gretchen, we are going to finish it off. So, it's got some soot on it right now, that's why it's black at the top. That soot is actually an indicator of the temperature of the glass. If the soot shows up, I think it means it's like 900 degrees or less, somewhere in there, maybe around 900 or 1,000. So, it's also a good indicator to tell you how hot things are. So we're going to tap this off. It's just going to take a tiny little tap to break it free. Barely connected, and we'll just polish that little spot on the top where it was, because that'll be sharp. Alright, there it is, folks. Custom pendant. Now it goes into the kiln to cool slowly. All right, well, thanks again for watching, everyone. Great, thanks for the order, Gretchen. Thanks to everyone who keeps shopping our clearance section. I saw more orders come in when we were doing the demo. So yeah, thanks a ton, folks. We really appreciate it, and can't wait to see you all in person on the other side of this. So be well. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10, and I'll be doing a honeycomb bottle stopper. You can see some samples of that on the website. One of my oldest styles of bottle stoppers that I do. I've probably been doing that style for, I don't know, close to 10 years maybe. Really durable, really unique look. And I just use one color and then silver, kind of the same way I used the silver on the rose this morning. So thanks again, folks. I appreciate it. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10.